I got to thinking, as a society, we do really good at showing people the finished product. But we don't show them everything that goes into it being accomplished. And the end result, it winds up really frustrating people. People wind up weary in their well-doing. I mean, you think about this wall for a minute. We see paint whenever you see a wall. That's all you look at is the paint color. But what's really going on here is that behind that paint is finish. And behind that finish, the sheetrock or the drywall. They don't see the 2x4s. They don't see the electrical panels in there. People just see the finished product. And today, I want to take us behind the surface of all the things on the outside that we see. I mean, another example, you look up in the ceiling and you'll see a sprinkler head, but you don't see the water line attached to the sprinkler head. You don't see the engineering and the architectural renderings that were necessary to go ahead and install that sprinkler head. So again, over and over, we see the finished product, but we don't have any idea what goes on behind the scenes to make it a reality. Or rooms that we see now or places we see now and no idea what they used to be. Like this is our banquet room. But how many of you remember when it was our sanctuary? This is where we worshiped for like 8 years. It was packed out too, by the way, our services every Sunday. But now it's a banquet room. And so people see the finished product, but they don't remember everything that went into it ahead of time so it can get to where it is. And today, as I preach and as we worship, I want to remove every spirit of frustration and distraction so that we all can recognize that there's a lot of work that goes in to a final product and finishing what God called us to do. So today, as we worship and as we look at the word together, I don't want to start where everything is finished. I want to begin where it's ugly. I want to begin where pipes are showing. I want to begin where it's dusty, because the reality of it is every finished product, every finished thing we do starts from something that's not that impressive. Here it is. There is pain attached to your purpose. And what God is calling you to do, it's going to be a little ugly for a while, but persevere, you're going to get there. Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. New King James Version says, "Let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart." Some translations of the Bible say if we don't faint. Well, one of the things I want to talk about today is I want to give us all some words to whip weariness. I mean, if we get honest, man, we get weary in our well-doing. And I wanted to be very intentional today because the reality of it is that as you and I live our lives, we don't do a good job as a society of showing people what people had to go through to get where they are. So as we launched this E-City campus service, I didn't want to record in our Center for Performing Arts and Worship with all the bells and whistles. I didn't want to record in green screen and make it look like I'm someplace fancy that I'm really not at. I wanted to record in a low place, not a high place. I wanted to record in a place of humility. I wanted to record in a place of lowliness. And I know what you're thinking. Well, Pastor, if that was your whole agenda and you wanted to record in that place, why you have on a suit and some dunks? The reason is because it's an object lesson. It's an object lesson because your circumstances and your environment, they don't define the greatness that's in you. It's just a temporary place that the Lord has you. As Paul writes to the church at Galatia, he starts to say, look, don't get weary while you're doing well. You know, when you and I look at social media, it can be exhausting, and we have to be careful that we are not contributors to other people becoming weary because they're looking at my reels, they're looking at my shorts, they're looking at my stories, and everything I post, I'm always winning. Listen, I'm celebrating with everyone else graduations, right? But every time we post a cap and a gown, every time we post somebody being handed a piece of paper, every time we hear pomp and circumstance, every time we witness all of this greatness, nobody's posting about the overtime hours that they had to work to pay the tuition. People aren't posting about the struggle and the toil and the torment to get their child through. Yeah, I'm posting the ribbon cutting at my new house. but I'm not posting the 7, 9, 10 years it took to get my credit right. We're posting all the places our spouses and I are vacationing, but we're not posting all the years we spent in counseling because we couldn't stand each other. My point is that people get weary sometimes in their well-doing because we act like we never have moments and seasons of weariness. And so as I minister today, I want to minister to people to not quit. As a matter of fact, I want you to finish whatever God is calling you to start. And so I want to talk a little bit about this from the lens of what we write about. Y'all, nobody that I'm aware of plants something in a garden and expects to reap a harvest a week later. I don't know anybody that immediately a seed gets put in and they're good. That's why Paul says in due season, because I'm going to go through some moments where I'm going to plant and then I have to wait. I mean, think about it. What is incumbent upon all of us is patience. Type that in on your eCity chat. Tell people around you in your watch party, listen to this. The one requirement imposed impartially on everyone is patience. The one requirement imposed impartially on all of us is patience. We have to learn to be patient. We have to learn to wait. We have to learn, nudge people around you. We have to learn to not be in such a hurry. And that's difficult. It's difficult because we live in a fast-paced world. It's difficult because we're not our great-grandparents. Our great-grandparents, they walked, jumped on a horse, got in a horse and buggy. Not you or I. Man, we can jump on a jet or a plane and we can get thousands of miles in hours. We have immediate communication. We have instant messaging. I mean, you know, from your cell phone. You want proof that folks struggle with being patient? You know you got them folk, you text them, it's 2 minutes later, and you getting a nasty text back. You know, did you not see my text? Did you not respond? Because we have become so impatient. And in the midst of our waiting, that's where the weariness comes. And so I want to encourage us today to not get weary. We have a God that we serve that refuses to be hurried. There's nothing we can do to force God's hand. There's nothing at all we can do to make God go quicker than we want him to go. Y'all, think about it. Right now, while I'm preaching, while you're listening and watching wherever you are, right now, the earth is rotating. Literally right now, the earth is rotating. There is nothing you and I can do to make that rotation go any quicker. Think about it. You can take off an extra day and you can make your work week shorter, but you can't make your week shorter. None of us have the ability to control all of that. God has his own pace. And he has his own pace because he's accomplishing something specific for each of us. The problem that Paul confronts is the problem we all face sometimes. And the problem we all face sometimes is we get weary in well-doing. Y'all, there's so many factors that are involved in this particular equation of our weariness. And I want to today give you words on how we whip this weariness. I want to give you these words. I have 4 of them for you. I want you to jot down these 4 words. These words are going to be tools to help us whip weariness. Here's the first word I want you to jot down. The first word that I want you to jot down is jot down the word commitment. Everybody say commitment. Type that in, commitment. Listen, without commitment, contracts are broken. Without commitment, wars are lost. Without commitment, marriages are dissolved. Without commitment, children are abandoned. Without commitment, buildings are not completed. Without commitment, degrees are not obtained. Without commitment, health is not a reality. Without commitment, jobs are terminated. Without commitment, our development is hindered. Y'all, we have to have commitment. Commitment is my attitude. It's what I bring to the table. It's not my actions. It's my mentality. It's my mindset. It's how I think through things. I was reading a John Maxwell book, and this John Maxwell book, Be a People Person, was called. I had to write down exactly what he said because this is so true. Listen to this. Until I am committed, he says, there is a hesitancy. There's a chance to draw back. But the moment I definitely commit myself, then God moves also. And a whole steam of events erupt. All manner of unforeseen incidents, meetings, persons, material assistance, that which I could never have dreamed would ever have come my way begin to flow toward me the moment I make true commitment. When I talk about commitment, it is the idea that what I'm about to touch, what I'm about to be tasked with, what I'm about to take on, I am going to finish. I believe that for many of us, the reason things have not favored me, the reason resources have not been released yet, the reason help has not been given to me, the reason things have not quite lined up and people aren't always returning the phone call is because deep down inside, I'm not committed to it yet. Listen to me. The moment we become truly committed to anything is the moment where God is going to harness resources to our benefit so that we can accomplish what he's calling us to do. The first word that I want you to hold on to whip this weariness is commitment. And here's the second word I want you to hold on to. The second word I want you to hold on to might even be a little more difficult. It's consistency. Jot down that word, consistency. Now, if commitment is a state of mind, then consistency is an act of my body. Commitment is the mindset that I bring to the game, that I bring to the situation. But consistency is when those moments of struggle happen, I keep showing up in my commitments. I like to say it like this. Consistency requires perspiration. Think of it like this. You remember when God promised the children of Israel the promised land. But just because it was a promise does not mean it wasn't going to be toil and work and struggle. So God gives them this commitment. I'm going to give you the promised land, right? But then he has to repeatedly say to Joshua, be strong and of good courage. Hang in there, man. Be consistent. Be strong. Be courageous. Why does he do that? He does that because he recognized that in order for them to obtain the promise that had been given to them, that they were going to have moments of weariness. They're going to have moments of struggle. They're going to have moments where they're going to want to give up. In other words, you and I are going to face challenges to our commitments. And when we face challenges to our commitments, our natural impulse is to not persevere. It's to give up. It's just to walk away. Even, get this, even God's promises don't come without trials and hard work. Think about everything they had to do. They had to cross the Jordan. They had to conquer the cities. They had to rout out the enemies. They had to defeat giants. They had to plant crops. And then they had to reap a harvest. Whew. Just to get what was promised to me anyway. This is what God is saying. He's saying that what matters to him is our consistency. I mean, come on, real talk. Real talk. You don't want me preaching good every third week. You don't want to have a word from the Lord once. No, well, I'm going to come to Bible study on first Tuesday because Pastor will be all right on first Tuesday. But second, third, and fourth, he ain't talking about nothing. You wouldn't be at this church. The places that you frequent, the places that you go, restaurants, services that you receive. This is Mental Health Awareness Month, so hopefully you're getting a massage, you're getting a pedicure, you're getting something to take care of you. If you're not, do something to take care of you. But would you really go get that massage if half the time you went, it wasn't that good? Or would you go to that restaurant? So here's my point, that without consistency, we never finish the work that we commit to. Let me give you a passage of scripture. Luke chapter 16, verse 10. He who is faithful in what is least is faithful also in much. And he who is unjust in what is least is unjust also in much. Therefore, if you've not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches? Y'all, the scriptures emphasize faithfulness and reliability. You know what? I'm out the gate with this, so here we go. Here we go. Are you ready? Because you're going to want to say amen to everything I'm talking about until I get to the end. What if your car started every third time you cranked it? How long would you keep that car if it was not consistently running? What if twice a week your mailman consistently did not show up? You'd be calling the postmaster. What if your refrigerator once a week stopped getting cold, you opened up your ice maker and all the ice was melted? What if some mornings your water heater had you taking cold showers? What if you skip payments and every third month I'm not going to pay my mortgage, every third month I'm not going to pay my car note, every third month I'm not going to pay my rent? If you were not consistent, there is no possible way you could finish the task that God called you to do. It is our lack of consistency within ourselves and other people that cause us to be weary. So I'm going to say the same thing about you. If you missing church once a month or twice a month, if you're lacking that commitment and consistency, it creates weariness. So the second word I want to give you is just consistency. How do we whip this weariness? We whip it by being committed. We whip it by being consistent. The third word I'm going to leave you with today, I have 4 of them for you, is calling. Calling. Listen to what I'm about to say. I'm not going to belabor this. Commitment and consistency are sustained by my calling. Commitment and consistency are sustained by my calling. What do you mean, Pastor? What I mean is that when I am clear about what God is calling me to do, it motivates a level of commitment and it motivates a consistency in me to do what God is calling me to do. It's what I taught on Tuesday night. What I taught on Tuesday night is you and I have to see the big picture. Y'all, let me tell you what's a nightmare. It is a nightmare showing up with our best self, doing something or being with someone that we are not clear we've been called to. That is a miserable existence and it's exhausting. I think of it like this. When you and I are building something, we have to know where it's leading. We have to know where it's going to end up in the end. Don't be weary while you're doing good, for in due season you shall reap if you don't faint. I'm trying to give us tools to make sure we don't faint. So let me say a final thing, and then I want to challenge us, and we're going to pray, and we're going to have some great time in fellowship in our watch parties. Commitment is the first word. Consistency is the second word. Calling is the third word. Just being clear, this is what God is calling me to do. Here's the fourth and final word. Fourth and final word is competency. What I mean by that is once I am clear on what God is calling me to do, and once I determine I'm going to be committed to it and I'm going to remain consistent, then at that point I need to gain the tools, gain the knowledge, gain the understanding on how to effectively and efficiently and successfully do what God is calling us to do. You know, you do know, like I am in front of the camera right now, not behind the camera, right? You know, I'm not running any of the audio. I'm not running any of the video because I have no competency in that. And one of the biggest mistakes that we can make is try to touch stuff that we have not developed the knowledge and gained the tools to be able to successfully execute. And it's no shade that people behind the camera is not preaching to you right now, right? Because, and y'all don't want me singing on Sunday, right? So all the singing that went on today, y'all didn't see me singing, right? I want to encourage all of us that if God is seriously calling me, this is what I want you to see. What is exhausting in what God calls me to do? This is such a good word if you get it. Is my frustration because I have an inability to do what I'm trying to do. The truth of the matter is nobody likes doing stuff they're not good at. Nobody likes doing stuff that they're struggling to try to figure it all out. And that becomes weary, trying to find my own way, trying to carve my own path, trying to create my own access route. When God calls you to something, family, I want us to work on our competency. And this is what I want to say to you. If you really know God is calling you to do something and you're not the best at it right now, get good at it. Get good at it. Commit yourself to getting better at it. A month to this day does not go by. This just takes me out. A month to this day doesn't go by where I'm not reading a book or something on preaching. But I know people who've been preaching a week and you can't get them to read anything on preaching. With everything we're doing, we should be upping our game. And so these are my words to all of us on combating the weariness we may be feeling in the midst of the work we're doing. Stay committed. Be consistent. Recognizing you're operating in a very unique and specific calling, and develop your own competencies. Y'all, here it is. We need to finish what we're starting. Finishing what you and I start is not just a choice, it is a continual choice. Are you going to complete it or are you going to walk away? Listen, let me say this in closing. The Bible does not say those who begin well shall be saved. Let me say that again. The Bible doesn't say those who begin well shall be saved. It doesn't say that. Judas Iscariot began as a disciple of Jesus Christ. He began well. Then he betrayed him with a kiss, hanged himself because he grew weary while he was doing well in the beginning. You may not know this. Adolf Hitler began his career in Catholic school. He wanted to be a priest. He began well, but he gave up to the demons that birthed the Holocaust. Joseph Stalin and Karl Marx were both seminary students. They began well, but Stalin murdered millions of Russians during the birth of communism. The Bible does not say those who begin well shall be saved. Matthew 24:13 says, they who endure to the end shall be saved. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 8. We studied this on Tuesday night. We are hard pressed on every side, yet not crushed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. I'm trying to get you to see people get weary sometimes. We're persecuted, but not forsaken. We're struck down, but not destroyed. Let me tell you what Paul was describing. And I think I'm describing some of you, and I hope I am when I say this. This is what Paul said. Hell has thrown the kitchen sink at me, and I'm still fighting this fight. I'm going to endure. I'm going to stand. You make this declaration over your life. I will not bend. I will not bow. I will not burn. I will not look back. I will not let up. I will not slow down. I will not back away. I will not be quiet. My past is forgiven. My present is redeemed. My future is secure. I no longer need, this is what he's saying, I no longer need position and prominence and popularity. I don't have to be right. I don't have to be recognized. I don't have to be regarded. I don't have to be rewarded. I live and walk by faith and trust in God. My face is set. My walk is fast. My goal is heaven. My road is narrow. My way may be rough and my companions may be few. I cannot be bought, compromised, detoured, lured away, turned back, deluded, or delayed. I will not flinch in the face of sacrifice or hesitate in the presence of adversity. The devil is mad and I'm glad about it. That's what he's saying, y'all. I want to give you words and don't get weary. It's time to finish. Tell people around you it's time to finish. It's time to endure.